Since 2024, every online guru has either launched a YouTube offer or started marketing YouTube as a client acquisition channel. The problem is, they are not completely honest with you about how YouTube actually works. My team has generated over $2 million with YouTube in 2025 alone. And by the end of this video, you will clearly see how the biggest channels in the world are lying to you and know exactly what tactics to follow instead. If you've watched videos from Iman Gadji or Ravi Abuvala lately, you've been told to only speak to your ideal client, and that's exactly the reason you don't have enough traffic to see any meaningful results. I can bet my business on the fact that all of the problems inside your business come from lack of traffic, aka eyeballs. Without knowing this, you were taught that if your content isn't perfectly aligned with your ICP, it won't convert. So now all your videos are trying to be sniper precise, but in doing that, you've turned off 90% of the potential viewers. Make content that speaks to your ICP, but package it in a way that allows people around it to also watch it. Because yes, you want your dream client to click, but you don't want to make your thumbnail or title so specific that it only appeals to 0.2% of the platform. Let the wrong people in and filter them later inside your funnel. Please don't treat YouTube like paid ads where you exclude everyone outside your demographic. Treat it like a magnet that attracts broadly and filters later. Another common belief is that you should not give away too much value in your videos, or people won't have a reason to buy. And I've also heard people say you should give away every bit of info you have, and people will pay for implementation and customization. But both of those statements are wrong. If you give away too little, you don't build trust, and you will stay surface level, like every other creator in your niche, repeating the same vague advice your viewer has already heard 10 times this week. But if you give away too much, you will overload the viewer and lose them as a lead simply because of the fact that they've failed to understand what you're saying and failed to recognize the value of it. So the real answer is to only give as much as your viewer can comprehend and act on right now. And ideally, instead of loading your content with raw tactical advice, aim to break the beliefs that are holding them back in the first place, because they can forget or struggle to implement a piece of advice, but they can't unlearn a belief. When you help someone replace the way they think about a problem, they start to truly understand the value of the process. And that's when they begin seeing the action steps clearly on their own, which means they've gone from cold to warm without you having to give them a step-by-step tutorial. So go a bit deeper than your competitors, not just by stacking information, but by showing more transparency around what's happening behind the scenes, and the viewer will naturally assign more authority to you, not just because you taught them something, but because you helped them see something they couldn't see before. What's interesting is that both these harmful beliefs come from the biggest reason you will fail on YouTube. The reason is that you don't have the right information, or better said, you don't have the information you actually need to grow. And the biggest mistake you can make when looking for that information is blindly trusting big channels, because in most cases, these channels don't actually apply the things they preach. To go back to the first point of this video, everyone and their grandmother is preaching specific targeting, but all of them are targeting broader than their ICP. And a lot of people will say, don't listen to what they say, just copy what they do. But that's also wrong, because most of these people have been running their channels for years, and they only started seeing success after all those years. So at a certain point, their videos don't get views because of how great their packaging is or how strong their strategy is. They get views because people already know and trust them, meaning their brand solves their gap for knowledge. And that's not something you can copy as a small channel. Instead, study small channels like yours that are getting big views, because that's where you'll find strategies you can actually replicate. Now, let's say you found one of those videos. It's from a small creator, it's recent, and it's performing way above the channel's average. Most people take the thumbnail and the title and paste it over their own idea, expecting the same result without understanding what made it work in the first place. But what you should do instead is the exact opposite. Don't just look at where the format worked, look at where it didn't, because that's where the real signal is. If a specific packaging format worked once, but you can find 5 other videos using the same idea that completely flopped, that's a red flag. It tells you the format might not be as strong as you think, or maybe it's been overdone. So before you decide to use a video's format, go verify it across multiple uploads, find the ones where it performed, and more importantly, find the ones where it didn't. Only move forward once you've seen both sides, because most people only check the hits. But if you're not checking the misses, you're not seeing the full picture. And without the full picture, your strategy is built on guesswork. Once you've verified that the packaging works, the next mistake is copying it and stopping there, because the packaging is just the hook. But the hook only works if the content fulfills the promise. This is where most creators lose their viewers. They get the click, but they don't keep it, because what's inside the video doesn't align with the expectation that the packaging created. So once you find a title and thumbnail that performs, don't just study the surface. Actually watch the full video, write down how it's structured, and ask yourself what the creator did that made someone stay from start to finish. Look at where they introduced the topic, where they raised stakes, when they shifted tone, how they transitioned between ideas, and how often they re-engage the viewer's attention. Then map that structure to your own video. Not just the beats or the length, but the emotional pacing, the pattern interrupts, and the points of insight. Because this is how you get your audience to actually consume your content instead of bouncing after 30 seconds. Remember, the algorithm doesn't care that your title is good. It only cares if the viewer stayed, and the viewer only stays if what you promised is being delivered with clarity, frictionlessness, and transparency. Now, even if you do all of that, the research, the packaging, the structure, none of it matters if your funnel is broken, because attention without conversion is just noise. Every viewer that lands on your channel needs a next step. And if you don't give it to them, they'll either forget you exist or fall into someone else's funnel instead. That's why the conversion layer matters. And it starts with having a clear, singular destination for all of your traffic. One link in the description that every video points to, and one simple landing page that does the heavy lifting. That landing page should collect contact info through a VSL opt-in form, and once they opt in, they need to be sent straight to a video that explains what you do, who you help, and how the process works, ideally with a form or booking link underneath. And from the moment they submit their info, they should be entered into an automated follow-up sequence with an appointment setter, whether it's AI or human, dialing, texting, and emailing to book the call. Because here's the real leverage. If your content educates properly, your close rate on those calls can jump to 40 to 50%, not because your pitch is better, but because your viewer already trusts you, understands the offer, and sees your process as the solution, which means your content is no longer just marketing, it's pre-selling, qualifying, and warming every lead before you ever speak to them. So now you have the full picture, not just how to create videos that get views, but how to structure them, package them, and plug them into a system that turns attention into revenue. You're no longer just playing the content game, you're building a client acquisition system that compounds. Because when every video you make attracts broadly, nurtures deeply, and converts seamlessly, you're not just growing a channel. You're building the most scalable and sustainable marketing asset available in 2025. And once it starts working, it keeps working. Without more output, without more hustle, and without burning out your team, your time, or your budget. Now it's just about execution. If you want this installed inside your business with all the strategy, all the systems, and every moving part built for you, the link is in the description. Let's build it.